Yeah, I don't think there's many like it. I mean, there are a few, but it was just the idea that I was given the option to myself as James Hutton contracting to farm, but it's getting the capital to invest in the machinery, etc., which it's difficult. It's obviously expensive and risky. We kind of thought, well, two of the farms had their own machinery, and one of the farms had men that were already farming quite a large area. The other two farms didn't have any machinery or men. So we basically thought that pool our resources together and all share the costs. It's a good way that every farm is still actively farming as well. So that's, yeah, we did a budget. We did a lot of paperwork to see if it would work. And luckily we're all kind of like-minded farmers with the kind of same end goal, very environmentally kind of minded. So it was kind of a perfect marriage, really, of everyone coming together, and it's been quite successful so far. It's there's me as manager, so I get kind of the running of the business, which is really good. It's something that I wouldn't have been able to do on a 500-acre farm, farming at this scale with the opportunities we're doing. And it's just, I think going forward, it's probably something that will potentially more people will have to do to survive. 500-acre arable farm is becoming not that viable. So joining together, sharing machinery, spreading the cost is becoming probably more and more important. Well, obviously, being fourth generation, it's kind of in the blood. I am the youngest of my siblings, so I have an older brother and sister, and both of them weren't interested in farming. I think they're a bit older, so at the time they were growing up, farming was probably quite a bad period of farming, bad prices, and probably didn't seem very appealing to them. But I must have missed that period because I've always kind of wanted to farm. It's always been in my blood. I couldn't really see myself doing anything else. From a young age, I've been out on the farm, my whole life, born and bred. So it was kind of from birth that I knew I was going to be doing farming, but it was what kind of area of farming and what interested me, I suppose. The contracting side of things, effectively, Forefront Farming is a contracting business for the four owners, and contracting is always something that I've taken great interest in and enjoyed doing. The kind of pressure of farming for someone else and trying to do as good a job as possible, and problem solving. I always quite enjoyed the whole problem solving side of the business. As far as getting people into it, I think it's a pretty fantastic job, really. You're outside most of the year round. It's been fairly unaffected by COVID. We've had, as busy a year as ever with COVID, had a few problems, but still, Mother Nature doesn't stop for viruses. So we're still same old with work. I think just any opportunity you can get, take it. So I suppose I was kind of lucky that growing up on a farm and those opportunities, some of the opportunities were there. But if you're trying to get into farming, just get out there, send emails to people, say you want to get experience. Just any opportunity you get, whether it be something as in even dairy farming or any experience you can get, take it, because it'll widen your kind of experience, your knowledge of the industry, anything you can do to help that, and get involved with groups. So anything that's going to help you open up doors, opportunities to go and see different places, definitely do it. I would suggest taking a time out to go away and work away from where you currently live, so you can see different systems and how different parts of the world produce food. All these ideas, all these experiences give you different ideas of how to do things differently. And I think going forward, farming is going to get more difficult just with legislation's lack of pesticides, etc. So just getting as much experience as you can, and don't be disheartened when people don't take you up on offers. Just keep at it. Just keep trying to get in the door somewhere, get experience. And networking is so important as well. Just meeting new people. So I'd always recommend, if you can, get away to do some sort of higher education or courses somewhere, because the courses are important, but it's actually the people you meet. Networking is so important in agriculture, and just picking up ideas from people that you've met, and just listen to what other people are doing, watch what other people are doing, and and if you start doing a good job, people will notice and they'll pick up on that. So I'd say just get as much experience as you can, I think, in our industry. Well, on the first year, we with RET, Royal Highland Education Trust, we open up to over 300 school children a year, not last year or this year because of COVID, but for me, that's a really important thing. So basically educating the next generation about farming, because it's something that's completely missed from the school curriculum nowadays. And we bring them on the farm and we take them to loads of different little plots on the farm. So we have ranging from Kettle Produce come and do a stand with all the fresh produce, Quaker Oats, forestry, deer management, all this stuff that shows them about what happens in the countryside and farming. And that's really important. And I really enjoyed doing that because it's great to get these many kids out, and primary school kids out, to see what goes on in the countryside. Especially these villages they're countryside villages, but they just don't have any connection with farming at all anymore. So that's a really great time of the year. We love that. It's in May normally. That's a real highlight of the year for us. I think it's really important. That's something that going forward I'd like to see more in the education system is educating people on farming and where their food comes from, because there's a real disconnect publicly from food in the supermarket and actually where it comes from. So that for me is a real personal highlight for our own farm. But a visit that I've had, I went down 2 years ago down to Ely to G's Fresh Produce as part of Leaf, and looked at that business and basically how they kind of produce their produce from seedling, growing it themselves through to harvesting it, and just seeing that size of business and how lean they are and how efficient is just a real eye opener to me. It's just such a well organised and slick business. That was a really interesting trip for me to go to. It's a huge scale. From a family farm that's built itself up to a global company was fascinating for me to see, and took quite a lot from it. Just efficiencies and not losing, once you get that kind of scale, not losing the kind of finer, the small details. And the environmental side of things as well. They do a huge amount for the environment down there, all pretty much off their own back, and that's something we pride ourselves here. We do a lot of environmental stuff, so we're part of an EEC scheme at the moment. So we grow 170 hectares of green manuring, and then we direct drill our oats and wheat into that, and the savings alone have been fuel 6 litres a hectare compared to nearly 50 conventionally. We've got 3 men covering 3,000 acres, so one man can sow over 200 acres easily in a day with a direct drill. And I hope going forward that we'll all kind of be rewarded for carbon capturing, and how they do that I don't know yet, but if farming can tap into the carbon sequestration and get paid for locking up carbon, that would be a big bonus. As long as we're still producing food, I don't think planting the whole of Scotland in trees is going to do much use, because you can't eat trees. But I think that's exciting going forward. I think there's going to be a huge environmental push going forward that I hope that we can all kind of be part of, and we've seen big difference of efficiencies and even yield with moving to direct drilling into cover crops. So that's a big thing. That when I was down at the G's, they were doing a lot. They were starting to direct drill cover crops in between their veg crops and things, just to save soil carbon. So that was quite interesting when I was down there looking at that, and that gave us lots of ideas for coming back up.